Hi everybody, my name is Danielle Nicole and welcome to Monetary Makeup. From drugstore to high-end, I have it all. So I have a ton of new makeup that I am looking at right now. Some of it's new, some of it's not, some of it's high-end, some of it's drugstore, and I just haven't been able to compile all of it into a video yet. So today I'm going to be testing out a ton of new to me makeup, and let's see if any of it is great or fail. So just to name a couple of the products I'm going to be testing out today, first is the Kaleidos Black Jasmine palette. Next I have a blush from the new MAC 2020 Cherry collection. So this is the Glow Play blush in the shade Flowerescent, like fluorescent but flowerescent. I have an ABH bronzer that looked beautiful for cool tone people. Next I have two different highlighters. One is from Pat Mcgrath in the shade Lunar Nude. This is her Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter. I have never tried Pat Mcgrath's highlighter, so this one definitely I'm excited for. And this is from Too Faced. You know, we don't hear too much from Too Faced anymore, but I happened to be scrolling through Sephora and they had a diamond light highlighter that's called Fire Diamond, I believe. Wait until you guys see these two highlighters. So there's probably a few more items I'm going to be trying out today, but those are the main ones. So while I try out these drugstore to high-end makeup products, the topic of the day is going to be how to avoid Medicare penalties. So if you're excited to get started and enjoy the video while you're watching, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and let's get started right now. So I have a feeling this is going to turn into an overall cool tone look. Definitely not mad about it. Cool tone makeup is some of my favorite, and I feel like cool tone makeup in general is really difficult to find, especially in great quality. And a few of you asked me to do a look using this Kaleidos Black Jasmine palette, so this is what we're going to start out with. So when you open up this palette, just look how gorgeous these black and gray cool tones are. So just for reference, these do not have shade names, so I'm going to call them shade 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I actually already reviewed the Kaleidos Smokey Nostalgia collection, but I wasn't able to test out the Black Jasmine palette, so this is what we are going to start off with. Now my eyes are already primed and ready to go. What I used today were the MAC paint pots in the shade Painterly. You guys, I am so bummed. So I heard that e.l.f. is going to be discontinuing their putty eye primers. Those are some of my favorite eye primers. I talk about them all the time. So if you guys have a great eye primer recommendation, let me know down below. So I was just thinking, I'm about to dip into this dark smoky palette, and I'm wearing a white shirt. Okay, we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to dip into shade number 1. I'm going to dip in very lightly as these shades are extremely pigmented, and just start to buff out the crease. Ooh, I love shade number 1. It has that gray, grungy undertone, but it definitely has a hint of blue to it. It's so pretty. I forgot to mention, the only makeup I have on right now is foundation and concealer. I wanted to do my brows last because I'm not sure how this look is going to turn out. Never really know what I'm going to do until I start to, work on the look. So we'll do that in a little bit. I'm also testing out a Tula sunscreen and primer. So that video will probably be up before this one. So I will link it up in the cards if I do have it done. This shade is so interesting. It looks so much more gray in the pan, but once you get it on the eyes, you can definitely see that periwinkle blue almost undertone. All right, I just brought you guys in a little bit closer. Sorry about that. I forgot to do that a minute ago. Gosh, these pigments seriously just melt like butter on the eyes. I think I'm super drawn to it because, don't get me wrong, I love grays, but this has a hint of blue to it, so it is so pretty. All right, next I'm going to dip into shade number 3. Now I am tapping off my brush just because this is a little bit deeper and I don't have any of my makeup set. This palette is right up my alley. You guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like so many palettes this year, and even the last couple years, most of them are warm browns, warm pinks, warm oranges. And as someone who has a cool complexion, I just can't get away with wearing too many warm tones. I feel like it makes me look like I have an Oompa Loompa complexion, if I'm being honest. So this whole collection just screamed my name. Wow, shade number 3 is absolutely beautiful. So nothing on this side and shade 3 on this one. These are blending so easy. Okay, wow. Both of those are so beautiful. And I feel like because these have kind of like a blue hue to them, I feel like this palette would look beautiful no matter your eye color. All right, next I'm going to dip into the black and do a faux eyeliner, as I call it, just using an e.l.f. eyebrow brush. So I always try and press right at the lash line. And this is a great trick if you have hooded eyes because you're not using any more space. Wow, that black is so pigmented. Okay, so usually when I'm doing a faux eyeliner, I typically have to dip in several different times. I dipped in one time and was able to spread that black across my entire lash line on one dip. So we had a blizzard yesterday, you guys. It was completely snowing. And now today we're getting freezing rain. It's like the weather just cannot make up its mind. I'm so ready for summer. I don't know where you guys live, but in Michigan, we only get a couple warm months during the summer, so I am ready for it. All right, I am loving how this is turning out so far. So next, let's dip into shade number 1 for the lower lash line. These have so much pigment to them. So yeah, with this palette, these shades look much lighter in the pan than they do on the eyes, at least on my complexion. So I feel like that worked really well for a lower lash line, and I only dipped into the very first lightest shade, so just wanted to mention they look a little bit deeper on the skin than they do in the pan. Next, I'm using my e.l.f. eyebrow brush, and I'm going to dip into shade number 3, and I'm going to keep this right at the lash line just to create a little bit more definition. And I only go about 2/3 of the way in. Otherwise, I find it closes off my eyes, and my nose comes to such a small point up here. I want to create that area open a little bit. Man, you guys, you know, I'm just not the biggest fan of Morphe's brushes. This is tugging on my eye, and it hurts kind of bad. I like the shape of this brush, but it's not soft. All right, next, I have to dip into this shimmer shade, which is shade number 2. I'm going to start off using my finger. So you know what's interesting, you guys? Kaleidos' shimmers almost feel like a putty formula. They feel like bouncy, kind of like ColourPop Super Shock shadows. Wow, that is a beautiful, cool toned silver. Look at that. Wow. So I'm just going to use my finger to get it started. And then I will probably go in with a brush to buff out the edges. So this shimmer definitely has much more punch to it than the Cold Brew shade. All right, I'm just using my rougher number 2 brush to kind of buff out the edges a little bit. All right, that is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to add a little bit of highlighter for the inner corner and mascara. Be right back. All right, guys, so I just added a little bit of mascara. We are going to do the brow bone highlight and everything in just a minute. But what do you guys think about this eye look? I love that shimmer. I think it's so pretty. Next, I have a bronzer from ABH. This is in the shade Rosewood. And why I wanted to try this out is because it has that almost pink cool undertone to it. So next, let's test this out. So here's what the shade Rosewood looks like swatched out. It Cosmetics number 202. All right, so I have no setting powder on because I'm testing out some new products in a different video. So this should be interesting. Okay, so I can already tell I really like this shade. It definitely has a bit of warmth to it. It's definitely not a straight cool tone bronzer, but it has enough of that pink kind of shift to it, so I really like it so far. Just add a little bit to the cheeks. All right, yeah, I really like that shade. It has a nice pink hue to it. All right, next let's do highlighter before we move on to blush. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at how beautiful these highlighters are. So this swatch right here that's a little bit more champagne is Pat McGrath in Lunar Nude, and this is the Too Faced Fire Ice highlighter. These are stunning. So we're gonna try them both because I just can't help myself. So first I wanna go into this Lunar Nude highlighter from Pat McGrath. So this formula is made in Italy and it's supposed to be kind of like a gel formula. So here's what it looks like on the brush. Now what's interesting, this is a champagne highlighter, but when you look close at the flip, it almost has a cool blue flip to it. It's really one of the more interesting highlighters I've ever seen. So see how it looks really champagne right here? And then when you go in the light, see that flip? Oh my gosh. So this is probably going to be a little bit too deep for me, but we'll see. I'm gonna build this up a little bit, that way you can see. It's kind of hard to tell on camera sometimes. I'm sorry you guys, but we get no sunlight where I live, so it's so hard. Oh my gosh, this just melts right into the skin. And I'll show you guys up close in a second here, that way you can see what everything is looking like. Also, the embossing on this highlighter is absolutely stunning. I mean, look at the details in there. Oh, that is so beautiful. All right, so I absolutely love this highlighter. It's definitely a hair too deep for me. Now, I can definitely get away with it. I would be more than comfortable wearing this every day. I do just wish it was just a little bit lighter, but I think it's beautiful. What do you guys think? So let's tap the Pat McGrath highlighter with this Fire Diamond highlighter from Too Faced. Now this one looks like it's going to be much more of that cool tone, super shiny look. So this might actually work out as a topper today. I have no idea how pigmented these are. Now I'm kind of glad I picked up both of these because they're both supposed to be that gel baked formula. So this is going to be the highlighter for those of us that have a fair, cool complexion. Oh, look at that. That is so pretty. So I'm thinking these highlighters might actually work better with a natural hair brush. They'll probably pick up more product. All right, so keep in mind, I do have some light, so they're reflecting off a little bit more. But look at how beautiful those sheens are. And I actually quite like layering those. All right, so both of those highlighters are absolutely stunning in their own way. I think the formula is absolutely beautiful. It just depends what type of shift you prefer. And I quite like how I layered them today and just put on the Too Faced one as kind of a topper. So yeah, those are beautiful. All right, next I have a blush from the MAC 2022 Wild Cherry collection. And this is in the shade Flowerescent, like fluorescent, but flowerescent. So look at how beautiful this blush is. So this is what Flowerescent looks like. So it's definitely not your traditional bubblegum Barbie pink. It definitely has almost like a violet flip to it, and it's not as bright as your traditional cool tone blushes. So I think this is going to be one of my favorites, but let's find out. Now these are MAC's almost like putty-like formulas. Now this is one of my favorite blush formulas of all time. I love putties, especially for texture. I just find they don't emphasize any of that. So I'm just going to use the same brush that I used for the highlighter. Let me pick up a mirror here so I can see. Oh yeah, this just melts right into the skin. This is so pretty. I know it's probably going to be a little bit more subtle than some people are looking for. However, I would imagine using a natural hair brush, you would pick up more product. This blush is so beautiful. It has that kind of lilac pink hue to it. Now, even though MAC releases this Wild Cherry collection every year, Each of the shades are typically limited edition, so if you were interested in picking up any of these shades, then I would recommend doing so now. So yeah, I'm probably going to end up ordering another one of these blushes just because these cool tone shades are so rare. You know, typically blushes that are released are your warm orange or warm pink, so this is right up my alley. So I can't remember if I've talked about these two brow products or not yet, but Shot Miss A actually has a new micro brow pen. These are incredible. So I picked up the shade Taupe, and these have almost like a prong at the end with 4 little spikes, I guess you could say. And let me show you, the shade Taupe is kind of your perfect neutral brown. So I'm just gonna add a couple of strokes right at the end. I cannot believe that Shot Miss A released a brow pen for $1 that's this good. So that was super easy. I literally just threw a couple of strokes right here. My brow hairs are starting to grow back because I'm using a serum. Now the next product is the NYX Thick It Stick It. I think I've talked about this before, but I can't really remember. And I use the shade Cool Ash Brown. This is literally my favorite brow product. It is so quick and easy. So it has a spoolie on one end. Now this stuff holds your brows in place all day, and it's so easy. I don't even have to go in with powder if I don't want to. And it's great too because if you go overboard, you can just take a spoolie and brush it out. But once these set, you guys, they do not move. So I'm gonna come in a little closer, that way you can see. See how they hold them up really well? So if you have sparse brows like me and are just looking for something quick and easy and also affordable, I definitely recommend the Shot Miss A Brow Pen and the NYX Thick It Stick It. All right, lastly, let's finish off with lips. So this is the Kaleidos Lip Glaze, and this came in the Smokey Nostalgia collection. Now, I, of course, was only able to wear one lip product at a time. So today I'd like to go in with the deeper red, which is called Smeared Rouge. So as you can see, this is a very deep red, so give me just a second. All right, you guys, so this is what Smeared Rouge looks like. As you can see, it's a very deep red. I absolutely love the lip clay formulas, and I'm definitely going to be picking up more in the future. All right, next let's cut into the topic of the day. Welcome to the topic of the day. So a lot of people may not know this, but Medicare actually has 2 different types of penalty fees that you could incur. And those penalty fees are for Part B of Medicare, B as in boy, and Part D of Medicare, D as in dog. So when you first become eligible for Medicare, this is assuming you do not have any sort of retirement benefit, so just picking it up on your own. Then Medicare expects you to pick up Part B and Part D or Part C. So a lot of folks may not realize this. I sure didn't until I got into the career. So the reason that Medicare assigns what's called penalty fees is that they basically incentivize you to pick it up when you first become eligible. So just for an example, let's say you recently turned 65 and you are just now eligible for Medicare. And let's say you decide, you know what, I'm healthy, I really don't need to pick up Part B or Part D of Medicare, I'll pick it up when I get older. So if this was a scenario and let's say 5 years down the road, then you decided to pick up Part B and Part D of Medicare, then you would have what's called penalty fees assigned to every single month of your premium. So it's basically an additional fee that you would pay every month for the premium. And unfortunately, these penalty fees do not go away. However, they do stop accruing once you decide to pick it up. So the only way to avoid these penalties are 2 different scenarios. One would be if you had employer or retirement benefits that did not require you to pick up Part B or Part D, or if you were under your spouse's coverage. And the second way to avoid these penalty fees would be to pick up Part B and Part D of Medicare when you first become eligible. So there's a lot of details I could go into, but typically if you have retirement benefits or it's your spouse's coverage, then usually those penalty fees are waived. However, if you do not have those options and you decide, you know what, I just want to wait down the road to pick up Part B or Part D of Medicare, then you could incur those penalty fees indefinitely. Now, of course, you can decide to opt out of Part B or Part D of coverage. However, I definitely don't personally recommend that because then you could be susceptible to future penalty fees. So, as I mentioned, if you guys want to see a Part 2, let me know down below. And at the end of the day, it is just unfortunate that Medicare does have these penalty fees, but I did want you to be aware of them and how to avoid them. All right, I hope the topic of the day was helpful for you all. Next, let's cut into my final thoughts. All right, you guys, let's get into my final thoughts about all of these products. So it's not too often I do a haul like this, but you guys, I did not have any duds. So Kaleidos is quickly becoming one of my favorite brands. I just feel like every single product I try of them is phenomenal. So I'm definitely a huge fan of this Black Jasmine palette. It might even be my favorite of the two. And now I see what all the fuss is about with these lip clays. I absolutely love the formula and all of the shades in the Smokey Nostalgia collection. And if you have a difficult time finding a matte bronzer that doesn't lean orange or super warm, this Rosewood shade from ABH may be a good option for you. It definitely felt very smooth and buttery, and it certainly blended out very quick and easy. And this MAC blush from the Wild Cherry 22 collection in Flowerescent, this is absolutely beautiful. Not only is the formula so buttery and smooth since it is a putty formula, but the shade is everything I could hope for in a cool lilac lavender shade. So now I want to hear from you guys down below. Do you like the look that I created today? Have you picked up anything that I tested out today? Let us know all your thoughts down below. All right, well, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching another one of my videos. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I just want to thank you guys so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, guys.